This video brought to you by Creality. A simple set of coasters was one of the first things I made when teaching myself the machine stitch. I know coasters are kind of like wallets, they're leatherworking 101, everyone makes them, but a couple years ago I was in an upscale cigar bar and noticed a nice set of weighted leather coasters. These were something I had never seen before and they looked really cool, so I took note for a future project. So I came up with a plan. It was all going to be filmed for a short video. The inner weighted body would be made from a 3D printed shell filled with sand. I designed these in Tinkercad and printed them on my FDM printer. Of course, I wanted my logo on there, so I printed that on my MSLA printer. I even designed and printed wet molds and centering jigs. However, at this point, the whole project kind of stalled. A combination of my stamp being too big, my arbor press perhaps being too weak, if there was a 2-ton, and the leather being too thin, I just simply could not get a good impression on the leather. Needless to say, I was disappointed. And the whole project just kind of got shelved until I could come up with a different solution. By pure happenstance, that solution came a few months later in the form of an email from Creality asking if I'd be interested in one of their Falcon 10-watt laser engravers in exchange for featuring it in one of my videos. I of course jumped on this sponsorship opportunity because I knew exactly what I would use it for first. So for full disclosure, I'm not being paid, but this video was made in exchange for this machine, and I was pretty much given free range to do whatever I want with it. Now, if you've watched my videos, you've seen my printers pop up from time to time. Even being involved in the peripheral of the 3D print scene, I'm very familiar with the Creality brand. And although I don't own one, they make arguably one of the most popular consumer-level printers with their whole Ender series of FDM machines. All the contents were well packaged, all the components looked high quality. Having worked with and on 3D printers, none of these parts are particularly alien to me. Aluminum extrusions, belts, stepper motors, control boards. It's basically a 3D printer with a laser instead of a hot end and no Z-axis. From experience, the first thing I did was purchase a 24 by 24 inch porcelain paving stone to serve as a base. Something other than a wood workbench that won't warp or flex during use. And the Falcon just fits on it. So the benefits of an open gantry design like this, in particular with leatherworking, is that unlike plywood and acrylic or sheet metal, leather generally doesn't come in nice square-cut standardized sizes, so you can slide oddly shaped pieces under it. Or you can just sit the whole thing on top of really big pieces. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to make nice pre-cut pieces of leather. I'm using the sample wood included with the laser as a template. After doing a lot of internet sleuthing and making several test runs, I determined I got the best results from dampening the leather first. Sort of like you would when you're casing it for tooling. Probably the biggest benefit of this is that it allows the leather to lay flat. Not soaking wet, but definitely more wet than you would when tooling it. So the first thing you'll do is focus the laser. Creality provides a little metal step jig that you can use to lower or raise the laser to the proper height, depending on what you want to do. At this point, I feel it would be irresponsible for me not to make at least a passing mention of safety. Like any tool, there are hazards here. It is a Class 4 laser. Please research carefully and educate yourself on all appropriate precautions. A pair of safety goggles comes with the machine. I use them for the majority of the filming of this video. I did purchase an additional pair of goggles in case anyone else is out here in my workspace with me. My workspace is my garage. I keep the garage door partially open with fans running, so ventilation shouldn't be an issue. Additionally, it may be overkill, but for $50, I purchased a collapsible enclosure from Amazon that will prevent stray laser light from escaping. It also features a fire-resistant liner. You won't see me use it in this video simply because it would get in the way of my filming, but other precautions were taken. Alright, so let's get down to business. So, press the power button once, it goes into its corner to calibrate, and then it does this little dance around your workpiece. What this basically is the laser saying, hey, these are the outer perimeters of the design that I'm about to etch, so you better have something underneath here. And once you're good with it, press the button again and it gets down to business. For those who are interested, this logo was originally designed as a vector file in Adobe Illustrator, and then I imported that into Lightburn. Lightburn seems to be the most popular kind of default app that runs these lasers. It's sort of like the slicer that your 3D printer would run on. So my first run, it seems to work fairly well. Now, the sample that Creality sent me included the air assist. This is an electronic air pump that forces air into the beam and down into the workpiece. This has the effect of reducing heat around the laser and removing particulate generated from the cutting surface. It supposedly helps it cut better. Here I'm using the honeycomb bed. This is used to raise the workpiece off the surface for cutting. So one effect of the air assist I notice is that it generates a bit more soot around the surface. However, a quick wipe with a wet sponge and that cleans right off. While I'm at it, I decided to make a quick G-code to cut out the backs of the coasters as well. Now, would I recommend this machine just to cut out concentric circles? Probably not. I'm doing this just as a test, and also because I don't happen to have a circle die this size. However, let's say you had a more complex shape that you do on the regular and it's just kind of a pain, then I would say for sure, and watch to the end of the video to see me do that. I have to say, this is actually pretty cool. Okay, we'll play with the laser a little bit later, but for now, let's go ahead and make these coasters. previously mentioned, I designed these shells in Tinkercad. When I brought them into my slicer, I chose a fairly low density infill pattern. And also a pattern that would allow me to shuffle and fill the entire insides with sand. I didn't want any air pockets. And then I seal it all up with some liquid nails. Okay, enough pillow talk. Now let's test what I'm sure a lot of folks who watch my channel will want to know. Can this laser cut through thick veg tan leather, like the type of leather that we make our holsters or belts and sheaths with? Well, let's see. Again, I start with dampening the leather. This is a piece of 9-ounce hide I've actually made some holsters with. I scanned and traced one of my common patterns into Illustrator and then dropped into Lightburn. These honeycomb beds that we use to cut the leather on, you can actually buy these much larger, and that's probably going to be my first upgrade. So this took about 5.5 minutes. There was a little attachment at the beginning of the cut. This may have been because I forgot to turn on the air assist before it started. And there were a couple spots where the laser didn't quite make it through the very back, but for the most part it was a clean cut. Leather is hardly a homogeneous material, however. Next time I'd try actually increasing the speed and just making a couple passes. I think this would give a cleaner cut. Is this a clicker press killer? No, but if you're someone like me on a budget, this machine has a lot of versatility. And I've already have a lot of creative ideas on how I can use it for future projects.